Hello there, it's Patricia from Pinky's World. I was asked to do a quick tutorial on how to make one of these wee books for a lady, so I thought I'd just share it with you as well. This one was one I made last week, and it's only 2 inches by 2 1/4, so it's very tiny, and it was made for the Cardio Biscuit Buddies. So this time I'm going to make a bigger, slightly bigger, but the same process for this wee set called Smiley and Sleepy, and I'll also add in their Christmas sentiment wish, Christmas winter wishes number 3 as well. So that's what I'm going to film the book with. So to make the book, this time I'm going a wee bit bigger because these stamps are bigger. So I want it to be able to fit in there. So I've made it, the book is going to be 3 inches by 3 inches. So to get your book filled, get yourself some paper. I'm going with an old Do Crafts or Do Crafts, I'm not sure which way you pronounce it. It's single-sided paper, so I'm going to back them together. You can use double-sided paper, which saves you doing this process, as long as it's a good thick one, not a flimsy double-sided. Pick a paper you don't really like. You're not going to see a lot of it other than for the front cover, so choose your front cover nicely. So get yourself 6 pieces that measure 6 inches by 3 inches. I just went with this simple design, as I say, from that, it's a teddy bear set or something. It's years old and it does these kind of things great. So you need 6 pieces of those. You also need a nice piece of washi tape, or if you don't have washi tape, cut yourself like 3/4 of an inch of paper and use that as your binder. You're also going to need a sewing machine. I used a sewing machine to join all my pages together. If you don't have a sewing machine, punch yourself 2 holes and threads through and tie yourself a bow here, and then cover it with your paper to secure it. All easy done. I'm actually going to go with a piece of elastic. I was looking for a piece of ribbon that matched, and I found this, and so I'll just do a wee elastic closure, so it will be attached like under the washi tape here, and it'll hold the book closed there. It's too big for this one, obviously. So if you have scrap pieces of that lying around, use it. So get your pieces of paper, decide which one is going to be your cover, and then the one on the inside, you want to glue them together. So get your 2 pieces, glue and join together, and that gives you a good firm page. So I'll do one with you and then I'll head off and do the other ones. So I'm just using Collal glue, which is gives you time to shift your papers about if you haven't got them totally lined up, and if you find they're not cut the exact same, which they won't be, like you're not a robot, you'll be able to trim them down and ink around the edges. So I'm just going to pop that on top and just shake it up. So you want to get a good coverage on both sides, and as I said, don't worry, like I have a bit over here already, don't worry about it. And you really need to let these dry before you start folding them, otherwise they're going to shift about on you. So just for the time being, just do the joining up, sticking them together, and then either trim off your white edges if you have any, or ink them up to disguise them. But just make sure there's no bubbles and it's nice and flat. Then go on and do your other 2 pieces. So back these together again, and then the same. I think I've 2. No, one of the orange and one of the stripes. So I'm going to join these together and come straight back to you. So I have all mine stuck together, and now I want to do the edges. So I'm going around it with a bit of Distress ink called Tea Day, and I'm just going to ink around the edges. Just back before I do that, I totally forgot I want to round my edges. So get all your pieces. You don't have to do this. This is just my preference. I think it finishes off a wee bit nicely. So do that to all your sheets. You only need 3 sheets, depending on the size. You could go thicker if you want, but if you're keeping it to 1 stamp set, I think this is enough. Do you not? Like I filled that other wee one with the same amount of pages, and I got loads of room in it. You don't want to turn it into a chore. So get your ink again, ink it up, and just go around the edges. You don't need to go too drastic, just add a wee bit of ink. It takes my brush a wee time to absorb this. Now So you're just adding that wee bit of brownie ink. You can also just flip it up like this if you want. If you don't want it on your actual papers, and it'll just go to the very edge. And it just gives it a wee bit of definition. And then when you put your stamp piece on, it's going to sit out a lot more. You're not going to see a whole lot of this paper, especially with this particular stamp set, because it takes up so much room, but that's why I'm making it, is to show the stamp set off, nothing else. So do that whatever way you feel fit or quick, or don't do it at all. I'll be back when I've finished mine. So I've all these inked up and ready to go, so now we need to fold them in half to make our book shape. Normally you would go in and just score it. You know this is 6 inches and you'd score it at 3 inches, but when I do that, it never folds properly. So I'm going to butt it up against my edge here, so it can't go anywhere on this way and this way, and just make sure that it goes in, and then just give it a good burnishing with your... We've made these nice and thick for a good sturdy hold, so you want to make sure that they're folded right. So just go in with the other ones, butt them up both sides, take your time and just make sure it's right in there. And then do a quick roll with your finger and then press it. And that gives you another one. So one more today. So that gives us our 3. And you decide which way you want it to go in. Now you can see there's going to be a letter which we're going to have to chop off and ink again. But yeah, you need to do your inking first so you've decided which one is going to be your front. So what you want to do now is just make sure they're all down. And don't worry, if you see something sticking out, we can easily trim it off. But keep it like this, like a nail shape, like that. So you know that everything is butted in. My phone's going crazy there. And then get yourself some of these clips, and you just want to hold bottom and top. And this is where we're going to be running it through our sewing machine. You can also run yourself a pencil line down if you haven't got a good line to follow in your sewing, because it can be tricky enough when you go in there. So as I said, don't worry about things being off or short or whatever. We can easily trim it and just tidy it up is all you're doing. So I want to run through my sewing machine. If you didn't, you can make yourself a wee 1/2 inch slip of paper, the same length as your book, from here to here, and then you can mark a hole there and a hole there on your piece of paper, put it in. Again, use your bulb clips to hold it, mark through, and you excuse me, use not that, an awl, where is it? One of these will punch a hole through for you, nice and sturdy. Just get yourself a wee bit of heavy pad. You can see I've punched a lot, and it just punches a hole right through. I'm not actually doing either of those today because I want to just machine stitch, and then I'm going to add this to be my own. Well, I'll probably have to shape it in a bit, see what width it is. It's a bit loose, so I will tighten that up so that it's holding my book pretty neat and tidy, but that's a much easier way to do it. And then I'll stick my cardio, I'll type out my cardio on the computer and the name of the set that I'm using. What do you call that one? Smiley and Sleepy. So, and then I'll have that. I know it's a different size from the other one, but I mean, it's different size stamps, and I'll just pop this wee book inside my stamp set, and I'll always have it there. So I'm going now to sew this. I've clasped these down, and I'm going to run my tool here just to give it a good hard crease that I can see it when it's going in. And I'm going to try and get my stitch. I'm just using a plain running stitch on the machine right the way down. So I'll be back in a second. So that's back. It's stitched nicely this side, not so nicely this side. This seems to have caved a wee bit under my stitches, but we're going to be covering that with our washi tape or your paper, whichever, which is why I told you that you'd need a piece of that. It just depends on your paper. Some papers cover beautifully, other ones just do not. You just refuse to take the stitching. It depends on the thickness and all too. So be wary of it. You can actually practice on a piece of your paper if you want it. I'm not too bothered. This is just a wee scrapbook for my own convenience. So I'm going to trim off these. You can see that they're a bit over. I mean, you have to remember that you're using the same size of paper for each fold, but when they go in, they're being pushed out fractionally all the time. I'm sure that shook us to hell and back, that the noise of it. So that has tidied that up mostly. I think I'm going to go to the bigger machine and trim this other side. So because we've trimmed these down, we need to go back in and round our wee corners. Probably could leave your round until this stage, see if you do them twice. But just do each page so that they look nice and finished again. That was as crooked as damned. I don't know what happened there. But again, remember, this is just for your use. Unless you're going to give it to somebody, of course. Oh, I think so. So now we have our wee book. We want to decide what way you're closing it. As I said, I'm going to use this elastic. So it's going to be, it's not very strong elastic, mind you. So I'm going to pull it to where I think that would do me. So I'm going to tie my knot there just to make that a wee bit smaller. This must have come off a present or something at some stage because I'd kept it in the scrap drawer. Just double check that. It is extremely stretchy. I might have to use a piece of my own elastic. That's actually not too bad because by the time I fill it with pictures it needs a wee bit of leeway. So I'm going to pull that nice and tight and I'm going to chop off that end. So if you're using elastic like me, pop it on now before you do your, what do you call it, your washi tape, and I want that to go either side and to sit in as nice as possible, nice and flat. So give it a good wee tug. If you wanted, you could have left that string long, put it round this side and hang a couple beads on it if you'd have left the elastic longer. But I haven't, and that only came into my head there now. So I'm going to put a bit of Yoo-Hoo glue or fast strand glue, whatever glue, hot glue gun or whatever. I'm going to put a wee slip of it here and then press that side into it. That's going to take me a wee minute, so I'm going to come back to you. Right, so I've stuck those down flat so they're fairly flush. The wee knot's going to cause problems all the time, but there's nothing I can do about it. I've went this road. So anyway, where you've chopped off to tidy up your book, you want to add a wee bit of ink there just to make it all look the same again. And it just covers really easy for you. And that is your book more or less ready. And we want to add our washi tape now. So I have a piece cut here from the only broad piece that I have. So I'm going to line it up as best I can. It will be over both edges, but I'll try and straighten one edge and chop the other off. I've made it extremely big for myself, which I didn't need to do, but it comes in one big long chunk. So I don't want that amount coming around the back, so I'm going to chop some off. So, oh, sticky stuff. Some washi tapes are not so sticky, so you might need to add some wet glue just to make sure that it stays in place for you. I'm actually going to add a wee bit here. I'm going to put some Tomboy in it just for extra security. because it will be under a bit of strain. Just put some on your spine there just for good measure. And then we're just going to roll that over. I hope our knot isn't, I think I've put it on upside down this. But it'll hardly matter. Try and keep it nice and straight. The elastic is a bummer. I think it'd be safer sticking to the ribbon, and I'm going to show you now how and when to add your ribbon. It would have been much neater, wouldn't it? Silly fool. But it's done now. So I'm going to pull that off. And if you're going to add ribbon, go to your first page, do your first image or sentiment or whatever you're going to do. It's going to stick here, so that's the time you want to add your wee ribbon. Get me a piece to show you. Never replace a loose ribbon when you need it. So say you're going to have your ribbon. Measure your ribbon so that you know that you can tie a bow and wrap that round. So give yourself enough length, probably about, I'd say 8 inches, and then you can chop it off depending on the size of your book. If you're going for a smaller one, that wee one there just used, let's see, I allowed about ½ an inch under. So that was about 6 inches, that wee piece. So I would say do 3 and 2 maybe. So you're going from there. I bring it out to 5 or 6 inches again, yes, definitely. Maybe more, just to allow you, and then you can trim it off. So, sorry, what you want to do is you stick your ribbon here, a bit of double-sided tape or again glue, center it in the middle, allow your end to come out, give it a good glue on top, and then glue your wee picture in place that you've already done. Do your print, your stamping and inking before you put them in your book, obviously. And then that will secure your ribbon, and you do the same on the back. Your last page, a bit of ribbon, and then your image on top, and then you'll be able to close the book and tie it up. Simple. I might take that off yet. I'm not sure if I like it. It's really bugging me, so. Ugh, isn't it terrible when you do these things without thinking? Well, it's left me a hump there too, so I'll have to decorate it because it may annoy me. What do you think? I will leave it for now. So anyway, on and up. Get yourself, if you're using the stamp set or the size of stamp set that I'm using, he's fairly big, so I needed to go no less than 2 3/4. That one that I put in there is 2 3/4 by 2 3/4. I'm using some smaller ones that I will put the sentiments on. So they're just a fraction smaller, I think. I don't think they don't look smaller at the minute, you don't. Yeah, they are smaller. It's must be 2 1/4 inches. So just chop up whatever paper you have, sit down, enjoy yourself some stamping and inking. I've used loads of homely made hills and clouds and snow borders, just out of scrap paper, you know, just rip yourself across, cut yourself across, do whatever you want, and just use that as your masking. Or I have used this one along the bottom here. I've used the clouds up the top, then I've inked around the whole edges of it. This is, I stamped him first and I stamped these first, and then I added the ink, and just avoid going over the top of your snowman. So I can do, I'm hoping the wee snowman, the lying down one, fits across. I'll just do one now for you when you're here. If you don't want to watch this, scoot yourself on across. So he's going to fit nicely. So got something stuck to him here. So pop him on one of your stamping blocks or whatever you use, and then just ink him up. I'm using Memento black ink. Give it a good ink because my ink pad needs refilled. If you're going to be colouring in with alcohol markers, you need to use something like this, Tuxedo Black you call it, so that it doesn't run whenever you... So I'm going to put him close to the bottom, but I may out of line there. Close to the bottom, but not totally at the bottom. I'm just make him go straight across. Isn't he cute, like? So on top of him, I'm going to put a wee mouse. Where'd he go? The wee mouse comes in this set as well. So we're going to ink him up. He's going to be sitting up on top of him. Like so, like he's looking up, like something's going on. And then we're going to use the nice edgings that we have. So I want to put a bit of snow, like he's laying on the edge of the snow. It's coming up around him a wee bit. And oops, I have a brush that I use. I really need to adjust my camera for you. Oh, wrong way. Just bring you down a wee bit because I need to see it myself. So I've got that torn paper. I'm just using this edge of it here so that you can see a wee tiny line. You probably can't even see it there, but I can see it in real life. And we'll want to do a wee edge under him, just so that he looks like he's laying right on the snow. And you can bring that on over, and then you can add like lower wee bits underneath there. Not much room, but it just adds a wee bit of dimension there. Okay, and then the top, you can either go just with your ink pad, like so, just fill it all in, that it's maybe dark at night rather than everything being during the day. I mean, he is sleeping after all. These are the cutest wee stamp sets. I'm so glad I came across them. Now, I would add more ink. I have this, but it takes ages. It takes me a while to do it. I'm not going to keep you on this, but when you do that there, you'd go in with your colours then. I would use like a warm grey to colour in bits of the snowman, just where the stamp shows you where to add your shading. You can go in with a blue or you can go in with a grey, whatever suits you, whatever you're going for. And it's so easy. I mean, you're not, the artist has done all the work here for sure. Just wee spots here and there. I'll give him a wee rosy cheek with some pink. I'll go in with my orange and a bit of brown. So I'm going in with an orange fine now just to add a bit of orange to his wee nose. And then some brown. Not the best shade of brown here, it's very dark. But just for quickness. I mean, you don't need colour down because there would be a bit of flossiness to him anyway. And then we can go mad with the colours in his hair. A little bit of red, or wait, let's see what we have. A red marker. I'm hoping that's red. Just to add a nice bit of brightness. And a wee bit to a scarf, why not? And then because we have the mouse slicking up, I'm going to use a thick and add some snow. So I think it's Caroline, you call the lady that runs these. She does 1, 2, 3. So she does one small, one medium, one big. And if my thing was darker, that would show up better. So I'm going to go back in at some stage and do that. But I just wanted to show you those inky pens are great for doing that. Jelly Roll pens, Sakura, yeah, Sakura. Got those on Amazon. So that's how you would add your thing. Of course, I forgot to go around my corners again. I like to corner everything. But that will be your back ribbon one, and then you can stamp in your sentiments and whatever you want. Just make it a nice wee project for yourself, and then you'll have these. And then in between, I'm going to do sentiments and whatever. So I hope that showed you how to do that okay. It wasn't too mental. You know, you can go any size you want in a book. Don't over bulk it up if you're just doing it for a wee sample book. If you're making a wee junk book or something, then yes, go ahead with your pages. But even these would be nice popped into a wee book or popped into your stamp set, and you'll always have a bit of inspiration for yourself on days when you're thinking, what am I going to do here? So I'm going to cover that, as I said, which will hold my elastic down. This will just pull off, and then I'll fill my pages up. But the sewing machine is great for joining these type of books together. But I won't recommend the elastic. I much prefer the ribbon. It is a nicer wee closure. Gives you less hassle. So I might change that yet. But anyway, I hope that helped you, and enjoy your stamping. And thanks for watching. Bye.